Good evening, everybody. We are live.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor.
I saw the note from IT that at 8 o'clock tonight, our Windows system will be rebooted. I hope that I sent them a note asking if that was going to have a problem for our meeting, and I did not receive a reply. Ms. Kendall, did you get any information on that?
I've not, but I didn't gather that it would have any effect on our Zoom meeting. But I can try and get some information for you.
That'd be great. I mean, if we're, if it's possible that the reboot of Windows that we go down at or after 8 o'clock, assuming we're still meeting, that would be good to know. I think Definitely. At that time, I think the meeting is adjourned.
Okay. Oh, I just got a note, Mr. Mayor, that the maintenance has been delayed until tomorrow.
Okay. Good. We're in the clear. Good afternoon, everybody. Just waiting for Council Member Tomlinson, and we'll start in just a moment.
Recording in progress.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a special meeting of the Pacific Grove City Council. It's Wednesday, July 7th, 2021. It's at 4:32 p.m. Ms. Kendall, will you please give us a roll call?
Yes, sir. Mayor Peak,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Here.
Council members Emilio,
Here.
Coletti,
Here.
McAdams,
Here.
Kaduri,
Here.
Tomlinson.
Here.
All present via Zoom meeting.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
And a vote, please.
Councilmember Emilio,
Here, yes.
Councilmember McAdams,
Aye.
Council members Tomlinson,
Aye.
Kaduri,
Aye.
Coletti,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Peak.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
We have two items on our agenda. Before I state them, do we have any members of the public?
I do not see any members of the public present, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. The first item is conference with labor negotiators. That's myself, Mayor Pro Tem Smith, and Councilmember Emilio in regards to the city manager employee contract. And the second item is conference with labor negotiators, Mr. Harvey, Ms. Hannah, and Ms. Livian, and that's for unrepresented management confidential employees and department heads. And we'll now go into closed session.
Welcome. Good evening, everybody. We are live. Just for your information, thank you.
Did you see any of that screen share, Sandra?
Yes, yes, I
Oh,
did.
good.
Thanks.
Great, okay, good.
Hi there, Meryl. Meryl, do you want to take it off mute? Reason why I was asking is I want to know if you want to make a couple comments after we acknowledge you. Otherwise, you're gonna have to sign and tell us. Okay, well, if you want to figure out your thing and just give me a thumbs up. If you don't, that's okay.
The unmute is at the left-hand lower corner of your screen.
Ms. Kendall, are we live?
We are live, Mr. Mayor.
Well, good afternoon or good evening, everybody, and we'll be starting in just a minute or two.
Meryl, can I do a real quick audio check with you? Just say something. Nope, still can't hear you. Okay.
There we go.
Meryl, can I check one more time to see if I can get maybe an audio with you? And see that you're connected on your phone.
Now can you hear me?
Yes, Meryl, thank you. That works great. So when it comes your time, just put it on mute and then we'll give you a second to get it on unmute. Sorry. Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to make sure we could
Okay.
hear.
All right. Perfect. Well, it's time to start.
Recording
good
in progress.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. It's a regular meeting of the Pacific Grove City Council. It's Wednesday, July 7th, 2021. It's about 6:01 p.m. Call the meeting to order and ask our city clerk, Ms. Kendall, please give us a roll call.
Will do, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Peak,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Here.
Council members Emilio,
Here.
Coletti,
Here.
McAdams,
Here.
Paduri,
Here.
and Tomlinson,
Here.
all present via Zoom webinar.
Councilmember Tomlinson, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, Mayor. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it
Which
stands,
stands
one nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
liberty,
liberty and
Justice
justice.
for all.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved, Your Honor. Second.
And may we have a vote, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Emilio,
Aye.
Council members Tomlinson,
aye.
McAdams,
Aye.
Coletti,
Aye.
Mayor Peak.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'm sorry, Councilmember Paduri.
Aye.
Yeah, Mayor, motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. We have two presentations tonight. We'll start off with Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is always my pleasure to recognize our fine city employees. And tonight we certainly have one of our finest with us. We have Meryl Ollinger here, and she is being recognized on the occasion of her 10th anniversary with the city of Pacific Grove. So I'd like to say a couple comments about Meryl's service, and then I believe we've solved the audio issue and we can have Meryl say a couple of remarks. So Meryl started with the city back in 2011 as a part-time accountant. In 2019, she became a full-time accountant working in our admin services and finance department. Meryl has been involved in nearly all the finance-related functions, including capital assets, revenue and reconciliations, grant reimbursements, and most recently administering the accounting and reimbursement process for the highly successful and very well received library renovation project. The money was a big part of that. Meryl is very dedicated. She frequently volunteers to stay after to assist in producing the budget document and the financial statements. She has also been extremely instrumental in assisting the city in receiving the CSMFO and GFOA awards, which you frequently hear me crowing about. So very glad to have Meryl as part of our team. Very pleased with all of her contributions. And Meryl, would you like to say a couple comments?
I would be delighted. I just want to say that it's been a real honor working here for the city of Pacific Grove, and the team we have currently in finance and accounting is really superior. That I can't say enough about the quality of the people that I work with. That their knowledge and their dedication is far and away just top notch, just the best. I have so enjoyed my time with the city of Pacific Grove. I enjoy seeing all the council members come walking through to pick up their mail and stop and chat for a few minutes. It makes me feel connected to the entire city. And I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity to serve, and hopefully another 10 years.
Thank you very much, Meryl. We really appreciate your service, and thank you for being here tonight on this occasion. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, well, I'll add my thanks, and I'm one of those people that always stops by and sees your friendly, smiling face, and it's a real pleasure to be able to connect with you. Anyhow, thank you so much for your dedication. Right, we now have a certificate of recognition for Mr. Gary Bales. 52 years, that's not a typo, 52 years of service on the Monterey Regional Waste Management District representing Pacific Grove. And Mr. Bales, I think you started when you were city manager. You must have started when you were city manager when you were 10 years old, right? Anyhow. It's just a phenomenal service, and we recognized Mr. Bales a couple years ago at his 50th anniversary, and so this is the point at which he's stepped down from the Waste Management District Board, and now Councilmember Coletti is representing the city. So, Mr. Bales, I think we have you in attendance. Would you like to say a few words? You'll have to unmute yourself.
Now can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the certificate of recognition on my service. I do want to thank all the mayors and council who have allowed me this opportunity to serve. I'd also like to thank the city staff and the district staff for all the support they've given me. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve the city this way, and I've enjoyed my service. It's been a great experience. Thank you very much.
And we wish you and Judy well.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
I'd just like to extend my congratulations and thanks to Mr. Bales for those many years of service. That's pretty amazing. And so thank you so much for your service, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to the next item, council and staff announcements, report on closed session. Mr. Laredo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe the report from closed session is going to be taking place by you and by the city manager. I do have one other announcement that I'd like to make when that time comes.
We've got closed session announcements from June 23rd as well. Did we have any reportable action?
Thank you. On June 23rd, the council did meet in closed session. There were 4 items in closed session. Conference with labor negotiators concerning the Police Officers Association unit. The council received a status report of that negotiations, but no action was taken in closed session. The council also met with respect to pending litigation for Monarch Pines Homeowners Association. The council did receive a status report at that time of the pending settlement discussions. There is a court appearance on Friday, at which time that will be hopefully announced in public if we have settlement. There was a conference with legal counsel concerning pending litigation. That's the city's action against the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. A status report was given on that matter. No action was taken. And then finally, there was a conference with real property negotiators concerning the portions of Sloat Avenue and Ocean View Boulevard with respect to the American Did Cannery project. The discussion was on price and terms of payment, but no specific reportable action was taken in that matter. I believe the two items on tonight's agenda will be made by the mayor and by Mr. Harvey.
All right, thank you. On item A, which was conference with labor negotiators, that was in regards to the city manager contract amendment. No reportable action taken, but this item will be heard at our next regular meeting on July 21st. And Mr. Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item B on tonight's closed session, conference with labor negotiators for the unrepresented management, confidential employees, and department heads, negotiators, myself, the Administrative Services Director, and the Human Resources Director. The City Council reviewed materials submitted to them by staff and directed staff to bring back compensation and benefits plan in open session for the City Council at the regular meeting on July 21st, 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harvey, are there any other staff announcements?
Not that I'm aware of, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Mr. Laredo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to announce that our Assistant City Attorney, Heidi Quinn, has accepted employment with another Salinas law firm. She hopes to be available occasionally for select assignments, provided no conflicts arise. By reason of this change, Ms. Quinn has vacated her position as city attorney, assistant city attorney. I will continue as city attorney to represent the city's interests. Other attorneys in my office include Michael Laredo. Michael has been regularly working with the Planning Commission, CDD, and on code enforcement matters, and also Associate Attorney Fran Farina. Fran Farina's practice focuses mainly on contracts, on water issues, and on litigation support. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Now we'll turn to council announcements. Councilmember McAdams.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to acknowledge and show gratitude to our recreation department and our new recreation manager, Miss Katie Clark. The Stillwell Children's Pool has been super busy with swimming lessons and lots of kids. And my son, as well as many other kids, have been enjoying the weeks of sold out adventure day camp. So just thank you to recreation staff for providing fun and safe activities for our youth. Thank you.
Any other council member announcements? Well, I'll just conclude by reminding folks the Planning Commission is meeting tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And next week, several committees, city committees are meeting: the Architectural Review Board, the Economic Development Commission, and I believe the Beautification and Natural Resources Commission. So please go on to the city website and check out their timing and agenda. Now we'll go to general public comment. If anyone would like to speak from the general public on city affairs, please raise your hand. Ms. Kendall.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have John Bridges.
Welcome.
Mr. Bridges, you have the floor.
Welcome.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name is John Bridges. That was the sound of the Point Pinos foghorn, which until decommissioned in 1993 was an integral part of our historic lighthouse operation. Phil Bowie, one of Pacific Grove's favorite sons, described that sound in his short story called When the Lord Spoke as follows, quote, "Then came a sound like no other. It was crushing, overwhelming, defeating. It rattled our bones, shook our teeth, tightened our braces, and loosened our fillings. We had unwittingly parked right under and next to the most powerful foghorn in the known world. That may have been a little bit of an overstatement, but I almost was knocked off my bicycle riding by it once. My wife and I, Lori, are 35-year residents of Pacific Grove and are training to become docents at the Lighthouse. And per conversations with Nancy McDowell and Dennis Tarmino, we would like to propose the placement of a stone marker commemorating the old foghorn. This idea has been formally endorsed by the Heritage Society, and the PG Rotary Club has also expressed support. What we ask of you is simply to give direction to Public Works, who I have also spoken with about this, to have one of the many large boulders unearthed by the in-progress Shoreline Trail and Access Project be strategically located on the seaward side of Sunset across from where the old Foghorn building used to be. We will then later work with the Lighthouse team and the Heritage Society to craft an appropriate bronze plaque for placement on the boulder. We believe the Foghorn was an important part of Pacific Grove's history and deserves this recognition, and we hope you will agree. One more quote from Mr. Bowie's famous story, When the Lord Spoke. Quote, "That old foghorn has been quiet for years now, but it should be preserved as a monument to those ships saved by its warning roars." Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
I see no other hands raised at the moment. I see Mr. Bridges' hand is raised. I'll go ahead and allow him to talk to see if there's maybe somebody else in the household.
Oh, I hit the wrong button. I apologize.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to consent agenda. Council, are there any consent agenda items you'd like to see pulled? And seeing none, anyone from the public wishing to pull a consent agenda item?
I see no hands raised, Mr. Mayor.
Your Honor, motion to approve consent agenda?
Second.
May we have a vote, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams?
Aye.
Mayor Peak?
Aye.
Council members Emilio?
Aye.
Coletti?
Councilmember Coletti, you are on mute.
We normally pull the local emergency actions, isn't that correct?
Only
Anyway.
if someone wants to.
Aye.
But that was your vote, aye, sir?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. And Councilmember Tomlinson?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. All right, I'll quickly summarize what we've just done. How we've approved minutes from City Council meeting of June 16th and June 23rd. We've entered into an agreement with the Pacific Grove Unified School District to provide a school resource officer for the next fiscal year. And we have held a second reading of an ordinance amending the salary classification for an administrative technician. Thank you, Ms. Livian. We've received the Monterey Salinas Transit District minutes of June 14th and the Regional Taxi Authority Board meeting from Councilmember Emilio. And we've received a report from our city manager on local emergency actions, and we have approved appointments to the Task Force on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And we've and the folks quickly read off the folks that apologies here for the and the folks we've approved are Tina Rao, Christy Markowitz, Kim Bowie, Nadja Mark, and Edward Juarez Lefebvre. And I want to thank everyone that applied for positions. We didn't have enough positions for everybody, but everyone that did step up, much appreciated. And we've approved Councilmember Pedori to be the council liaison to this task force. And that concludes the consent agenda. So we're moving on to public hearings, appeal of Planning Commission May 13th decision on a use permit. And Mr. Mataraza, welcome.
Thank you. I may appear to be an old face to some of you for two reasons. Number one, I am relatively old. And number two, back in 2014, I served as your interim community development director as a planning consultant, which I am now, while you had staff shortages. I'm doing the same now. And I'd just like to add that in my over 40 years of local government experience, your city staff then and now has been the most collegial I've run into. It's really a pleasure working not only within the department, but within City Hall. I really appreciate it. I'm going to share a screen now on a real quick PowerPoint. The item is a use permit appeal from Valero Gas, proposal to add distilled spirits to an existing beer and wine sales in the relatively small Valero convenience store. Planning Commission denied the use permit on May 13th. It was continued by the council on June 6th to have staff gather a little bit more information. It's important in staff's view to keep in mind that the primary business here is selling gas to the traveling public and the incidental sale of beer and wine. And if this use permit's approved, distilled spirits is a matter of public convenience. People generally don't go to a gas station to buy beer and wine. It's a consideration they make after they've bought the gas and they don't want to drive other places to buy other goods, including small grocery items. During this staff investigation, the Alcoholic Beverage Control Agency, the Salinas office, informed the city that the Valero business was in a census tract of undue concentration. I think their limit for some reason is 3 off-site sale licenses. There's 6 in this census tract, and they include what's called the Forest Hill Mart, which is the Shell station, Shell Convenience Mart, Safeway, Trader Joe's, Chevron Mart, PG Bottle Shop, and Valero, which currently just has the beer and wine sales. The staff recommendation is consistent. It recommended approval of the use permit with the from the Planning Commission, and it does so again. Uphold the appeal. Staff added a finding on page 2 of the permit yesterday, which, should you vote to approve this use permit, there would be a finding of public convenience added as number 5 on page 2 of the permit. Staff is primarily recommending this to support business in the Forest Hill area. The Forest Hill commercial area allows this type of use with the use permit, so it is discretionary. And the current applicant and the appellant has claimed that they've suffered during the pandemic and would find the additional sale of distilled spirits to help their business. It was discovered today, thanks to Councilmember Coletti, that it appears the business is for sale. It could be for sale based on the reasons stated by the applicant. He's had trouble performing business during the pandemic. I screenshot part of Councilmember Coletti's PowerPoint to him, and he is here tonight to answer questions regarding any potential sale of the business. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. This is a quasi judicial hearing, and I was remiss by not asking if we had any ex parte communication by council members prior to staff's presentation. This would be ex parte communication with the appellant. And I'm not seeing anyone indicate ex parte communication, so we'll go on in the sequence. Very briefly, the appellant and Mr. Sanjay Sharista, and apologies if I've probably mangled the pronunciation of your name, has 10 minutes, and then we'll go out to public comment, and then the appellant then has 5 minutes to rebut any public comment, and then we'll close that part of the hearing and go to council discussion and questions. So we'll now go to the appellant's time. If you please, Ms. Kendall, put the gentleman on the clock, and please tell us your name. Would like to know that, how to pronounce it correctly, sir.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, and
Yes.
hello, everyone. My name is Surya Shrestha from Bolero. We have this is a family business. Me and my parents own this, and we have this business since 2013. Well, everything has been really well in this community, but until this pandemic, we had a beer and wine sales, everything was fine. But this pandemic got, it hurt everybody. Our business depends on the gas. We only sell the gas. And as you know, by 2030, they're gonna ban the gas sales car. So, and I don't know what's the future of the gas gonna be. And even now, with the beer and wine sales, we had a little sales has been up a little bit, and which is still not enough, and we cannot depend on the gas anymore. And plus, this from the mechanic store, we don't make that much of the money too. So this is why we're planning to turn this garage into a big store. And then this is why we wanted the liquor license, so we can sell more inventories. More inventories we have, the more sales gonna be. It will bring us the more profit. We didn't get any help from the government, all this targeted SPA loan, all that disaster loan. We didn't get any help. Now we have to do on our own. This is why we really wanted this to upsell the business to get more profit to save our business. There was too many loan that was offered by SBA for disaster. We applied everything got denied. We don't get help. So we are at the position we have to help ourselves. So also I did notice that one of the council members saw the for sale. Yeah, we did put on a sale because of the pandemic. We were just being depressed, like we gotta save ourselves. So we did put on a sale, but agent came up to us and tell him the price is too high. We're not gonna be able to sell it. Well, if we're not gonna be able to sell it, we're just gonna do what we're gonna do. Open a big store and sell all put the more inventories, grow the sales, and we're just gonna survive. But we're not gonna make the sales price low. And if they're not able to sell it, then we're not gonna sell it. So as of now, I don't think we're gonna sell it anymore. So we really need your help. We really need this use permit. And also one more thing, we found out from ABC, just because we got a use permit, that doesn't mean 100% guarantee that we're gonna get the ABC license too. So we're still gonna have to fight with the ABC license, do everything legally needs to be done to get that ABC license. So as of now, we need the help from you. Then after we get the use permit, then we will gonna have to get the help from ABC. We need your help so we can help ourselves. If that makes sense to you, you know what I mean? Okay, Wanda.
Well, thank you. Now we'll go out for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do see one hand raised. The last three extensions, the last three numbers to the phone number is 333. You have the floor.
Audio.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for taking my comment. I happened to have listened to the Planning Commission meeting the night they were discussing this issue. And my concern is I'm married to a 35-year veteran school teacher, and I raised this comment that evening, and I think a few other callers also did, that unfortunately, with all sympathy for the Valero gas station owners, we understand the pandemic has created a great deal of stress for so many people, and I'm sorry to hear that it's affected them too. But teenagers have a great deal of the alcohol they buy it at convenience stores, and this is a safety concern for the community. I was raised by a highway patrolman. I grew up seeing Highway Patrol magazines with very graphic photos of what happens in just an instant in a car crash. And unfortunately, studies showed that when you do have liquor being sold in convenience stores, frequently a lot of the teenagers end up getting it. They don't buy it themselves directly. They have an older person buy it for them, and then it's consumed in the car. I know one person commented, said it's not our point to judge other people's moral decisions, but I think from a public health concern point of view, I do have to voice this, because the reality is that we do lose teenagers to these terrible types of accidents. And we don't want that to happen. And because there's so many other opportunities for people to get liquor for adults who want to buy them. Other people pointed that out at that meeting. There are many other local stores. And perhaps the Valero people could find, the Valero store owners could find some alternative additional opportunities for making more profits for themselves. There are other kinds of things they could possibly add to their store, and I wish them a great deal of success. But as a person married to a high school teacher for a long time, and things that we've seen happen to kids, and being raised by a highway patrol officer, I just do have a real great concern about the safety for the community when there are so many other avenues that, the adults who do really, really want to get some liquor, and this is spirits, it's not, wine or beer, I believe, they can find other places very close by to go and get them, grocery stores and everything else. And again, I do wish the people at the Valero store all the best, and I hope that they can pull through maybe with some alternative ideas that they can expand their business horizons. Thank you very much for taking my comments. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Inga Lawrenson-Deumer, you have the floor.
Welcome.
Thank you, Sandra. I heard it said tonight it's a finding of public convenience. Well, yeah, it's convenient for, as the previous speaker said, a high school student to go in and find a way. And he's talking about a small space, the owner is, and it's going to mean small bottles, and they are incredibly easy to grab and consume. This isn't a, what does the owner really think his profit line is going to raise just by changing? He already can sell beer and wine, same as all the other gas stations. And he wants to set a precedent, not even knowing that he can get an ABC license because he still has to go through that. And frankly, gas and hard liquor just don't mix. I mean, you just approved a school resource officer. What's their message? Don't drink and drive. Hello? This is too easy to grab and go. Hey, let's just gas up over the hill and get gassed while we're doing it. It just does not make sense. And it's a dangerous precedent. This isn't about morals. This is about public safety. Probably versus this public convenience, because the convenience, the public doesn't need that. They can go to every other store around there. Any adult can easily go in and get what they need. This isn't a last minute thought, maybe a bottle of wine. Hey, they can already do that. I'm sorry that he thinks he can balance his bottom line on just a simple issue of selling hard liquor. I really don't think so. And yeah, I wish him well too. And as far as the high price on the station, yeah, it was. The listing was way overpriced from any other Valero station. I'm wondering if it's just a matter of, well, if I get this license, then I can sell it for that much more. I'm sorry, this is just a really bad idea, and the Planning Commission got it right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I see no other hands raised, Mr. Mayor.
The applicant, Mr. Sarista, would you like to make any further comments?
Yes, Mayor, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Yeah, they were both correct about, high school kids might come in and try to grab and all that, but we've been in business for so long, especially me, I've been in the restaurant business for so long. We know how not to serve people under 21, and we know how kids might bring the adult to my store to buy a bottle for the other kids. And for that reason, we already have so many security cameras all around our building. And once we get a use permit, we're gonna put more security cameras to make sure the person buying the alcohol is only 21 over. And yes, for the profit margins, you say how much profit margin I'm gonna get? Yes, liquid is high profit margin. For right now, the candies, selling candies and gums are only 25%, 25% the profit margin. With the selling hard liquor, it's more than 60% profit margin. It will really help us the business. And we're not just selling a small bottle. We're not going to sell a small bottle of the alcohol. Small bottle alcohol doesn't give you any profit. There's no money in it. We're only going to sell a big bottle like how Safeway does. And a liquor store next door does, a Lucky does. That's the big, only we're going to sell only the big one, not the small one. Small bottles. You're right. They can just put in a pocket and they can live and drink and thrive. We don't want to do that. This is why we're not going to sell a small bottle, no at all. We're only going to sell the big bottle for the family, take it to the house and drink it. We're not going to sell anything that they can take it to the car and drink it. No, we're not going to sell any of that. Community safety, kids safety is our first priority. Before money, everybody's safety is our first priority. This is why we're still here. This is why we've been so successful in this business. We always want everybody's safety. We always want everybody's happiness. Like I said, we are the mom and pop business. We are not one of these franchise. Being Valero is only buying gas from Valero, but we are still not franchise. We are still a mom and pop business. This is a family business. We want everybody's safety for sure. I know we need money for right now at this pandemic, but for the money, we're not gonna just put somebody's life is in danger. And I understand this is a small convenience store. This is why we are asking for use permit. So we can turn this garage to a big convenience store, so we can put a lot of inventories to sell a lot of the stuff, so we can survive our business. Believe me or not, only business people will know what we go through. I mean, we almost in the verge of losing the business. Like I said, there was a targeted EIDL, so many loans that were offered, and none of the loan we got a big mortgage to pay. We got so many PG&E expenses, so many expenses. I have my own personal expenses that I depend on. Is my parents all our bread and butter comes from this. We have to save this business, no matter how. But that doesn't mean we're gonna put somebody else's life in danger. No, we have a lot of kids come from the high school. I know we know how to take care of them. We just don't put the stops in the front. We as the owner work, so we know how to take care of these people. We know how to make sure that everybody is safe when I'm buying the stops from here.
Thank you. Right. We'll now turn to council discussion on this item. You can ask questions of the appellant or staff, or just make comments. Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start by asking some questions to our city attorney. And I guess the first question is, this is a de novo hearing. And by that, we are essentially hearing it just like as the Planning Commission heard it. We're not bound by anything the Planning Commission decided. We're hearing it anew. And it's just like we are now the Planning Commission, essentially. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And a hearing, as far as a use permit is concerned, and the Planning Commission has authority to issue use permits. And there's a section within our municipal code that governs that. It's section 23.70.80. And this is use permits and use permit amendments. Within that section, Mr. Laredo, there are, and this would be 23.70.080.4, requirements for findings for approval. And it would be our requirement tonight, acting in a quasi-judicial way, in a quasi-judicial capacity, to make findings for approval or denial. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Listed under 23.70.080, findings required for approval, there are 5 listed. This again is in our municipal code. Item C mentions the following: the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the use will not, under the circumstances of the particular case, be detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of the proposed use. I have some slides, and maybe it's not appropriate to bring it up during the questions, but the slides show, and they were presented the last time this was on the agenda, the slides show that the census tract where this business is located is over concentrated with alcohol, off-sale alcohol licenses. The location or the census tract that this business is located within is allowed 3 ABC licenses. It's 100% over that. There are 6. So there's twice as many licenses that would be allowed as the baseline per ABC standards. Of those 6, 3 of them are type 21, which allows the sale of hard alcohol. And 3 of them, the other 3, are type 20, which allow beer and wine. As one of the callers mentioned, the gas stations within this service area, this census tract, the 3 gas stations all have type 20, including the applicant. And that is just beer and wine. This applicant proposes a type 21 license, which is beer, wine, and hard liquor. That would bring the number of type 21 licenses to 4 within this census tract. It is an over concentration of licenses within this area to begin with. And now what we're asked to approve is an over concentration of probably the most problematic of license type to type 21, which enables the sale of hard liquor. I've got a problem with that. I don't believe we can make findings that say the sale of hard liquor in an overly concentrated census tract per ABC definitions promotes the health, safety, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of the proposed use. Additionally, there's item D in our municipal code that says the use as described and conditionally approved will not be detrimental or injurious to property and improvements in the neighborhood or to the general welfare of the city. The sale of hard alcohol in a convenience store context is just like, you know, one of the callers mentioned, you know, gas up and get gassed. It's kind of ironic that the staff is proposing that this a finding be made for specifically that, to say that it is a matter of convenience. In addition to these 6 licenses in the census tract, these off-sales licenses, there are 3 additional licenses in the adjacent census tract, down at Lucky's, at Rite Aid, and the Planning Commission just approved a 3rd one within the shopping center there called Drinkies. So 9 alcohol licenses within a 1-block radius of this business. That's overly concentrated. It doesn't allow us to make a finding of convenience that is aligned with the health and safety and general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of the proposed use. So I could not support the appeal, and I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Councilmember McAdams.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, when I was, and thank you, Councilmember Coletti, for bringing that up. That is really what I am struggling with here is, you know, we talk about public convenience and necessity, PNN. And, you know, for me, it is a highly over-concentrated area in our city. And when I was communicating with the gentleman at the alcohol beverage control, you know, he quoted that we the council have to make the determination of public convenience or necessity. Well, this is definitely not a necessity. And when I look at public convenience, well, there's an abundance of hard alcohol in a half a block. I mean, in any direction. And so who is this being convenient for? I mean, it doesn't, you know, I'm not able to support that finding because, you know, 5 feet away is the bottle shop. And then Trader Joe's also sells alcohol. And then you have Safeway and Rite Aid and Save Mart and on and on and on. So I do sympathize with, you know, being a small business right now. But like what one of the callers said, you know, maybe there's another business model or revenue generator to look to besides selling, you know, big bottles of hard alcohol. But I mean, ultimately though, for my decision, you know, I have to make that determination of public convenience or necessity. That is in line with our municipal code and the health and safety and well-being of our city. And I'm just not able to support that either. So that's where I'm at, but I am looking forward to hearing what my colleagues say. Thank you.
Councilmember Poduri.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a question for the city attorney, or maybe it's the city manager. From my understanding of how I've read this proposal, In the event that the type 21 license is granted, the type 20 license would not exist or will be relinquished, and therefore the overconcentration would not apply. Is that correct?
If I may, through the mayor, I believe Mr. Matarazzo has the more direct understanding. I have my understanding, but it's secondhand from Mr. Matarazzo.
Yes, thank you. It gets a little complicated, council member. The finding recommended yesterday by adding 5 to the second page of the permit would have that finding of public convenience, not necessity, convenience. But if you chose to approve the permit without that finding, the applicant only has one course of action, and that would be to relinquish his existing permit to get the more inclusive permit. And again, thanks to another council person, this time it was McAdams, Jerry from the local ABC kind of spelled that out in an email yesterday, saying that that's the course of action this applicant could take as a go around to the overconcentration. They would not consider it an overconcentration once he relinquishes existing permit to get the more inclusive permit. So that's an option based on removal of that finding that was recommended yesterday. If you keep that finding in, the applicant, according to my understanding, has 2 options. He can retain his existing license and in the future possibly sell it, and then he would be eligible for the additional license as the ABC would look at that finding of public convenience. Again, Jerry from the ABC has been very cautious to say, hey, we have to look at everything, so we're not going to tell you what we're going to do. So that's where it stands.
And so if, could I put it this way? So the applicant cannot have 2 licenses, cannot have 2 use permits, one for beer and wine, one for hard liquor. If we were to apply the use permit for one, we can essentially also force the applicant to relinquish the other license. Is that correct?
Yes, he would be forced to relinquish his other license if you eliminated that finding of public convenience.
Okay, and maybe this is for the city attorney then. What does eliminating the finding of public convenience mean exactly?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? What is?
So Mr. Matarazzo said that the overconcentration would not apply if the council determined that we have eliminated the finding of public convenience. What does that mean?
I'm going to have to ask Mr. Matarazzo to respond to that. He's the one that's looked at that.
Yeah, again, the ABC representative said it would be definitely difficult, if not impossible, to say the selling of any kind of alcohol would be of necessity. I would agree with that. But public convenience, in this case, let me read it to you, is the sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits at this location is considered to be incidental to the primary business of selling gas to the traveling public. Thereby, if the council chooses, it is hereby found that the incidental off-site sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits within the convenience store is a matter of public convenience. And all that means is, as any convenience store or any shop, it would be one stop. It would be a convenience stop. You can buy groceries, you can buy gas, you can buy toiletries, and you can buy beer, wine, and distilled spirits without having to go to another location. Even though that location may be close, as many of you know, including myself, sometimes you just like one stop and you go home. That would be convenience. The ABC does not really define what convenience is. I'm suggesting that finding if you want to add convenience. Again, you don't have to do it. And if you don't put that finding in, the applicant has only one course of action, and that would be, and I understand it's relatively simultaneous, he would relinquish his existing license to get the more inclusive license.
Got it. So my view, I mean, right now it seems like the area is already oversaturated as it is, and it appears to me that denying this applicant is really not fair. Why would we have granted others the same right to sell hard liquor and not approve selling those same rights to the same to an individual who's nearby? So to me, it's as a council person, we need to be fair to everybody, including all businesses. So my view is that we need to go ahead and approve this permit, but I want to listen to others as to what they have to say.
Mayor Pro Tempore Smith.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm actually going to just make a motion to approve the recommendation at this time with the convenience finding. And if I get a second, perhaps we can have discussion on that.
I'll second it.
I'd like to make a counter motion.
Go ahead. Councilmember Coletti.
I'd like to make a counter motion that we deny the appeal and that we do not, well, I'll just leave it at that. Because we cannot make findings of either convenience and we cannot maintain the requirements per the municipal code that this is not detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of the proposed use.
Second.
Okay. Dueling motions. Let's hopefully that seems to cover the ground on our two options to approve or not to approve. So hopefully we don't have other motions, but if you do have another motion, please, this would be the time. All right.
I have some discussion
on the motions. All right, I'm gonna jump in here for a moment. The description of the difficulties that Sanjay has described are just they're heartbreaking. The pandemic has created all sorts of grief for a lot of people and business owners in particular, and not just this business here in Pacific Grove, but many others. Just very sad to hear that this has happened. And of course, the oil business long term is under threat from electric vehicles. I heard, and I understand the concern about safety. Everybody's been talking about safety. Ultimately, my concern is the community and the availability of alcohol, which apparently is already there's already a lot of available alcohol as it is, and if we're talking about fairness about authorizing this business as a liquor license, then we've got 3 other gas stations that I guess will be authorizing liquor licenses to, and I just don't. I agree with the concern about our youth and alcohol, and I can't the findings I can't agree with. Let's see, that they are not detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of the proposed use. I can't agree with that particular finding, and we must agree on that finding to approve the appeal. One of the questions I had for our staff was, I heard that once this liquor license were granted for hard liquor, it stays with the location. Is that correct? And I guess that's a question for Mr. Matarazzo or Mr. Laredo.
My understanding is that the permit does run with the land. I'm not familiar with the ABC licensing though, and so
But the permit does.
I've asked Mr. Matarazzo to speak to that.
I would just have to second what he said. The use permit runs with the land. I'm not sure about the license. Maybe Surya could answer that.
Okay. All right. Well, we're only dealing with the use permit tonight. And so there are comments made about the size of the store. And does the use permit dictate that the store, I assume the store can be expanded, that the use permit doesn't limit the amount of alcohol sales. And so that's another reason for my reluctance to approve this appeal. Councilmember McAdams.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question for staff. How many other gas stations in the city of Pacific Grove serve distilled spirits, serve hard alcohol?
The original planner on this project did a survey and found none.
Okay, and then so a question to the city attorney, and thank you for that. Would we be setting a precedence then if this does get approved? When we talk about fairness, then since no other gas stations in the city of Pacific Grove serve hard alcohol, are we opening up that door?
I don't think this is a question of serving alcohol. This is a question of selling alcohol. And no, each permit has to stand on its own. While general issues of fairness can be considered, it is not binding. It is not precedential. It does not force that future decision.
But doesn't it show, I mean, isn't there a precedent set that to date, no gas stations do sell hard alcohol?
I don't know that those facts are in the record. If those facts are in the record, it still is not binding. It is one point of reference, but does not by and of itself control a decision in this manner.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to clarify a little bit what I believe staff has said, and that is by including this finding, this proposed finding number 5, where council would potentially make a finding of public convenience, which definitely runs counter to some of the concerns that were expressed by the public. By making that finding, that allows an additional license to come into that census tract. There are currently 6 in that census tract. By making that finding, it would allow a 7th to come in. Is that correct, Mr. Matarazzo?
Yes.
So I mean, the district or the census tract is already oversaturated by a factor of 2. It's allowed 3 and it has 6. And adding a 7th, that's just, no. I think at some point, and that's the purpose of discretion. That's the purpose of council acting in this capacity, is to exercise our discretion on the appropriate use as they present themselves. And in this situation, the location of that station is in an overly concentrated area as far as alcohol licenses go. Now, you can speak about fairness relative to the adjacent census tract, but that doesn't really apply. So there are 3 liquor licenses adjacent to this census tract. So that brings the total to 9. If this proposal were to be adopted, it would bring the total to 10. And this is all very close to the high school and Forest Grove School as well, by the way. So, you know, the fairness is that we exercise our discretion to put the uses where they're appropriate. And that's our function. And that's what a use permit's all about. We have in our municipal code, I've cited the section, very specific and detailed procedures and processes for making findings that are required. It's not something we might or might not do. It's something we are required to do. And I think the ABC, by telling us we have to make this finding so that they can issue the license, they're recognizing that it's problematic. And they're saying, hey, if you want to get this in here, you have to do this workaround. You have to insert this finding that says you can add in another license into an area that's already has twice the capacity that it was that the baseline allows. So I'm not prepared to make some end run around our use permit process so that the ABC can, with a wink and a nod, issue a liquor license for hard alcohol in a gas station where it is, it is convenient. It's about coming in and getting out. So I do sympathize with any business owner that's having difficulty, and land use decisions and use permits are always difficult. But that's the purpose of our discretionary capacity, is to weigh that proposed use with the benefits to the community. And I just cannot support adding another license or even changing the type from beer and wine to beer, wine, and hard liquor. I just can't support that in an area that's significantly over concentrated with liquor licenses. Thank you.
Councilmember Tomlinson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a question. If we vote to not uphold this appeal or grant the appeal, do we need to have a finding as to why? Or do we just vote to not grant the appeal?
If I may, through the mayor, the recommendation is what was moved by the main motion to approve the recommendation. The recommendation does make the approval subject to findings and conditions, and those are shown in your agenda packet at page 71, has the findings and the conditions. And then my understanding is that includes the recommendation of the added 5th condition. So the main motion does refer to the findings of approval, but the main motion will not be the first motion that's voted upon. First motion is the substitute motion or the amendment. And then if that passes, then there's no need to go to the main motion.
And if the substitute motion, does that motion need findings? I'm thinking the answer is no, but I just need to ask it again.
Again, through the mayor, my understanding of the motion made by Mr. Coletti, he did make reference to 2 specific findings, that there cannot be a finding of convenience, and that cannot be a finding that this is not detrimental to the community.
Got it. Okay. Thanks. I'm ready to vote. I am not planning to approve this appeal. I guess I agree with many of the things that are said. I think that we have a saturated area, and I very much sympathize to the business owner, but I believe that this is not something that is best for our community. It's saturated, and I do think we're treating business owners the same. Gas stations are already able to have beer and liquor licenses, and I don't want to start changing that and going down a road to upturn, all the gas stations over to state 21 licenses. So I feel like it's a double negative, but I'm planning to vote yes to Councilmember Coletti's motion. So
I'd like to call the question, Mayor.
Can I think we've got a couple of hands raised. I think we're getting very close to a vote. I'd rather not cut people off.
I just want to call the question as well, Your Honor.
Okay, how about Councilmember Emilio is the only council member that hasn't spoken. Councilmember Emilio, would you like to say a few words before the vote?
Mr. Emilio,
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I feel for the business owner. There's no doubt about it. And but I also have to think about other areas. I know we've talked about public convenience and all that, but I'm thinking beyond beyond Highway 68 or Sunset or Highway 1. Anybody could become inebriated under any substance or alcohol, beer or wine or whatever. But I have a trouble with this also. I'm more concerned about the general picture of the safety of the area. And I am not going to vote for this either.
Right. So I'll ask our city clerk to give us a roll call vote on the substitute motion to deny the appeal.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Coletti?
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams?
Aye.
Council members Tomlinson?
Aye.
Paduri?
No.
Emilio?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
No.
Mayor Peak?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-2 to deny the appeal.
Let's just check with our city attorney. Do we need any findings for this action?
You need findings, but those were incorporated in the motion by Mr. Coletti.
Okay. All right. All right, now moving on to item 12A, meeting frequency for advisory boards, commissions, and committees. Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a presentation for this item as directed by council. We went back to our advisory boards and commissions and obtained desired frequency for meeting post-pandemic. We have embedded those within the agenda report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about those frequencies if council has them. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment on this item?
I do not see any hands raised, Mr. Mayor. Oh, I do see one. Lisa Ciani, you have the floor.
Welcome.
Thank you. I would just like to encourage you to respect Planning Commission's desire to have 2 meetings a month scheduled. They have important work to do. This group is really ready to take on work that hasn't been dealt with. And I think that their second meeting a month is, I understand their intention is, would not require a great deal of staff time. So I hope you will not approve that part of the staff recommendation on this item and respect the Planning Commission's desire to meet twice a month. Thank you.
Thank you.
I see no other hands raised, Mayor.
Council discussion? Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll echo what Ms. Gianni said. As liaison of the Planning Commission, I've heard that request made very, I've heard it made often. So I've also heard from chairs of other committees and commissions, like mainly the BNRC, I think, at least monthly. But for the Planning Commission, I do agree there is work to be done. And I would support and advocate for 2 meetings a month. Thank you.
Councilmember McAdams.
Thank you, Mayor. I do recall that the city manager had touched base with all of the chairs of the boards and commissions. And I'm just wondering, is what is in our agenda packet, is that how they replied, or did they reply and some were changed? I don't recall seeing the responses from the various boards and commissions.
Through the mayor, I'm not necessarily certain what the question is. Councilmember McAdams, I'm sorry.
Hey, maybe I can answer. I can jump in because I listened to all or nearly all the committee discussions on this, and what and you can imagine that the discussion was not totally clear for some of the committees. There was a little bit of ambiguity or differences of opinion, but I think this report that our city managers put forth accurately summarizes the results of the committee discussions.
Okay, and then so with the Planning Commission, I recall when I believe it was last year, had looked at the frequency of meetings. The Planning Commission consistently was canceling one of their 2 meetings. And so, again, for the city manager, and what I remember was, you have to do the noticing, and, you call the meeting and then you cancel the meeting. And so I support staff's recommendations simply because we have already been through this, where what my recollection is that the Planning Commission can call an additional meeting if needed, if staff is finding that there is additional items to review. So I appreciate all of our volunteers on our boards, commissions, and committees. Thank you so much for sticking with us and being patient. And I am very pleased to see the meeting starting back up. But I just want to make sure, Mr. City Manager, what would trigger the Planning Commission if they wanted to call an additional meeting?
Sure, Councilmember McAdams, through the mayor. A couple examples. We definitely don't ever want to hold up work. So if there is a permit that needs to be approved, and if another meeting is required so that the work continues, and resident or a business or developer doesn't incur additional costs, lose money, we would be sensitive to that. We also understand that some particular applications should be their own separate meeting. An example might be, when the ATC EIR comes forward, obviously that would and should be a separate meeting. We would definitely want to have that. There also may be times, and we respect this, if there's a full agenda And, they're going to be there for hours on end. Obviously, that's not fair to the commission or those going before them. And so we want to be sensitive to that. But we agree with your perspective. We did see a lot of meetings that were canceled. We're happy to call a second one if it's merited. We just don't see the need. And prior to the pandemic, we didn't have 2 meetings a month for that reason that you cited. So thank you.
Thank you. And then just a follow-up question to that, if a second meeting were to be called, would it be on the same sort of day and time as, okay, great. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilmember Tomlinson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the city staff and city manager and all the boards and commissions who took time to thoughtfully field this question and come forward with this recommendation that feels as though it was. I think the mayor asked and was in all the meetings. I mean, I really do feel like this is a good representation of what the boards, the commissions, the staff, and everybody got to say so in what is our best path forward. And to me, it's monthly meetings. We're going back to monthly meetings, which is very exciting and great. And I'm thrilled for the, beautification, EDC, HRC, recreation and traffic. We got quarterly for the museum, every other month for the library. We're going to talk about dissolving or not dissolving the golf. And, this whole, the October 1st thing makes a lot of sense that once we have a community development director on board and ready to run, then we can do planning commission twice a month. ARB will go back to monthly at that point and HRC back to monthly at that point. So, this is a receive an update and provide staff with direction. My thoughts are, thank you for the update. It looks great. It was well curated, and my direction is to, carry out the plan of the day type, would be what I would recommend. That's a Navy term. Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Amelia.
Councilwoman Thomason took the wind out of my sails. I think we need to move forward. It's a recommendation, and the city staff offered the following recommendation. I know I'm on a couple of commissions, and they definitely follows procedure. We got to move forward.
Councilmember Pedori.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually would side with Councilmember McAdams over here. I think what we should do is we should return back to normal, which is how things were before, monthly meetings everywhere, and then determine whether we really need a second meeting for Planning Commission or not. One of the things that has happened last year is the ARB met only once in 2 months. Perhaps that created a backlog for the Planning Commission to take on more items. So we really don't know unless everybody resumes everything back to normal. I think then we can make a determination whether Planning Commission needs to go back to twice or not. And really, if it really is required that we need to do it twice a month, the Planning Commission can come back to council and say we need it twice a month. But for now, I go with the staff recommendation. Thanks.
I think that, I'll just say ditto to everything that Councilmember Tomlinson has said. And I agree with this plan. And, we need to be driven by the need to meet. And that may mean at times a second meeting for the Planning Commission, but it also might mean other committees cancel meetings. There needs to be a meeting. We shouldn't be meeting just for meeting's sake. And we shouldn't, as Mr. Harvey pointed out, we shouldn't, in regards to permitting, we shouldn't be holding up people's business either. So I'm glad we shouldn't be locked into some rigid schedule. We should have a schedule, but then recognize the flexibility to add and subtract as needed. So thank you very much. Appreciate the report. Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you, Mayor. I think Councilmember Tomlinson is spot on. I agree with a lot of what she's saying, but I also would like to take this opportunity to really let my colleagues know that your planning commission is not feeling like they are being given the opportunity to fulfill their oversight responsibility. And that's important for you to recognize. And I get that directly communicated to me. So this is a good opportunity for you to become informed on that. And part of that means, having the time to do the work, but also be given the work of too. I do agree with Councilmember Tomlinson that, a real push can't really be done until we do get another CDD on board. But I'm mindful as the liaison to the Planning Commission that they have an extremely important role and that they are underutilized. And we should be referring a lot more items to them. I've mentioned them in the past. I mentioned the Parklet program, zoning code updates, and I got a whole list of it. And we're not doing it. So, as we come out of this pandemic, as we get a new CDD on board, I really want to see the Planning Commission fully engaged. And that means meeting as often as they can, but in a capacity that they're really meant and they're chartered to fulfill. So that's my soapbox speech for the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Well, this is receive the report and provide direction. And I think, Mr. Harvey, you got a endorsement of your plan, and also thanks to all the committees, commissions, and boards that took this on for discussion. Okay, we'll now move on to our last agenda item, 13A, an MOU for the Police Officers Association. Ms. Livian, welcome.
Thank you. Just a moment while I share my screen. Okay, there we go. All right, good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, and members of the community. Tonight, we'll be discussing the Police Officers Association Memorandum of Understanding. The city and the Police Officer Association, the POA, have been negotiating a successor to the Memorandum of Understanding that expired June 30th, 2021. The negotiations were conducted in good faith, fully collaborative, and were based on mutual benefits to the association and the city. During the negotiations, city negotiators met with City Council in closed sessions on various dates and proceeded with City Council authority to bargain. A tentative agreement was reached in May, and the POA authorized this agreement on June 8th. Tonight, staff is asking City Council to approve the agreement. The new MOU will be a one-year agreement from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. The terms and conditions of the new MOU are unchanged from the previous one, with the exception of the term date and the conversion or removal of longevity salary steps into regular salary steps. The removal of longevity steps is consistent with other associations who have had their longevity steps converted to regular steps in their MOU. Okay, and here's a little graphic on longevity steps. The salary schedule for the POA consists of 7 salary steps. After each 1 year of successful performance, a POA member moves into the next step in the salary range up to step 5. Once a member is in step 5 with longevity, they must be in step 5 for 3 years before they can move into step 6. They must be in step 6 for 4 years before they can move into the final step 7. In the new agreement with POA, there is no longer a multi-year waiting period in step 5 and 6. POA members will serve 1 year in each of the steps until they reach step 7. Because we have various POA members in different steps in the salary range, the projected annual fiscal impact is a 5-year average increase of $42,594. And in the agenda report, it's broken down specifically the projected impact for each fiscal year, 5 years out. Okay, any questions?
We'll now go out to public comment. Anyone wishing to speak to this item from the public?
I see no hands raised, Mr. Mayor.
All right, bring it back to council. Councilmember Emilio.
I'm ready to make a motion, Your Honor.
Please.
Make a motion to adopt a resolution approving the MOU between the City of Pacific Grove and the Police Officers Association to cover the period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022.
Second.
Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll support this, but I did have a problem initially with removing the longevity steps. I think they serve an important function. However, none of our other labor groups have them included. So I don't think it would be fair, at least in this step and this situation, to maintain them. Although I do think they do serve an important function. But like I say, I will support the motion.
Councilmember Tomlinson.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to thank our HR director, Ms. Livian, and the outside negotiator that helped us through this process. And it was a very smooth process, and I'm glad that we have this here tonight before us to adopt. So thank you.
And I'll add my thanks to the Police Officers Association negotiating in good faith, and between the city staff, city council, police officers, I think everybody wound up in an excellent place with everyone's considering everyone's respecting everyone's position. So it was, and this was taking place over perhaps three, maybe four meetings in closed session, and this is the end result. Let's, without further comment, then let's have a vote. Ms. Kendall.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Emilio?
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams?
Aye.
Councilmembers Tomlinson?
Aye.
Maduri?
Aye.
Coletti?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Peak?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. Thank you for everyone that's been participating, public, staff, council, everyone. Have a very pleasant evening. Take care. Good night.
Well,
Good night.